Your soulmate is planning a bold step toward you. This will shock. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. Out of all the videos, messages, and voices competing for your attention today, something quietly guided you here. Before you move on, stay with me for just a moment, because what you're about to hear may speak to the questions you've been carrying deep inside your heart. Maybe you've been feeling a strange shift lately. Maybe you've been waking up with someone's name crossing your mind for no clear reason. Maybe you've been trying to convince yourself that it's finally time to let go, yet something inside you keeps whispering, the story isn't over yet. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes life changes long before we can see any evidence of it. Sometimes the greatest transformations begin in complete silence, inside a heart that has finally become tired of running from its own truth. This is not about knowing the future with certainty. It is about recognizing how reflection, growth, and courage can completely change the direction of someone's life. For a long time, your soulmate believed that distance would make everything easier. They convinced themselves that if they focused on work, responsibilities, or daily routines, the questions inside their heart would eventually disappear. They filled every quiet moment with distractions. They stayed busy. They smiled when people expected them to smile. They told themselves they were moving forward. Yet every evening, when the noise of the day finally faded, something unexpected happened. Their thoughts always found their way back to one familiar place. Not because they wanted to remain trapped in the past, but because some connections leave lessons that refuse to be forgotten. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. A heart can ignore its truth for only so long before that truth begins asking to be heard. This message is for you. Think back to everything you've experienced over the past months or years. There were moments when you questioned yourself because another person's silence felt louder than any words they could have spoken. You wondered if you had misunderstood the connection. You wondered if your kindness had somehow been mistaken for weakness. You searched for signs in ordinary moments and answers in unanswered questions. Yet somewhere along the way, your story began changing. You stopped measuring your worth through another person's actions. You began rebuilding your confidence piece by piece. You discovered that protecting your peace was not giving up, it was choosing yourself. That quiet decision became one of the strongest moments of your entire journey. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. While your own heart was learning self-respect, your soulmate was walking through lessons they never expected. Life introduced them to situations that looked promising on the surface but felt empty underneath. They discovered that excitement fades quickly when trust is missing. They realized that attention means very little when emotional safety isn't present. They experienced conversations that sounded impressive but lacked genuine understanding. Every experience quietly revealed something they had overlooked before. The peace they once felt in your presence was not ordinary. It was rare. They didn't recognize its value when they had it because they assumed it would always be there. Now they understand that genuine emotional security is one of the greatest gifts another person can offer. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. During the last several days, something unexpected has been happening inside their heart. They have begun remembering moments they once considered too small to matter. They remember laughing with you over something completely ordinary. They remember how naturally you encouraged them when they doubted themselves. They remember the quiet confidence you inspired simply by believing in them. Those memories no longer feel like random thoughts. They feel like reminders. They are beginning to understand that the strongest relationships are often built through countless ordinary moments rather than a few dramatic ones. This message is for you. Perhaps you've also noticed little reminders appearing in your own life. Maybe you've been seeing repeating numbers like 111 whenever hope quietly begins returning. Maybe 222 catches your attention during seasons when patience feels difficult. Perhaps 444 appears just when you need reassurance that you are stronger than your fears. Whether you view these moments as spiritual encouragement or meaningful coincidences, allow them to remind you that growth often begins beneath the surface before it becomes visible in the outside world. Just as roots strengthen before a tree grows taller, your heart has been quietly preparing for whatever comes next. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate has reached a place where pretending no longer feels comfortable. Every excuse they once relied upon has slowly lost its power. They can no longer blame timing for everything. They can no longer convince themselves that silence somehow protects meaningful relationships. They have begun asking difficult questions that require honest answers. Why did I believe there would always be another opportunity? Why was I so afraid to speak openly? What kind of future am I creating if fear continues making every important decision? Those questions follow them everywhere because every honest answer points toward the same truth. They no longer want to be controlled by hesitation. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine them sitting quietly after another ordinary evening. Their phone rests nearby. They pick it up, unlock the screen, then pause. They are no longer uncertain about how they feel. The uncertainty now lies somewhere else. They are wondering whether courage can finally become stronger than fear. They understand that one sincere conversation could change the direction of everything. They also understand that continuing to remain silent guarantees that nothing will change at all. For the first time in a very long while, they stop asking, "What if I get hurt?" Instead, they ask, "What if honesty is the only path toward peace?" That single question begins transforming the way they see tomorrow. This message is for you. Continue protecting everything your own healing has given you. Continue honoring the boundaries that taught you self-respect. Continue believing that healthy love should never leave you questioning your value. If someone chooses to walk toward you, let them meet the version of you who has learned that trust is built through consistency, honesty, compassion, and mutual effort. Let them meet someone who no longer mistakes uncertainty for romance. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate is considering is not being driven by impulse or fantasy. It is growing out of reflection, accountability, and the realization that meaningful opportunities should not be taken for granted. Reflection has become clarity. Clarity is becoming courage. Courage is slowly becoming action. Every lesson life has placed before them has quietly been preparing them to become more honest than they have ever been before. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Keep walking confidently into your own future. Keep investing in your peace, your purpose, and your personal growth. The strongest relationships are built by two people who have learned from their past instead of remaining trapped by it. As this chapter comes to an end, another quietly begins. One heart is discovering that fear no longer deserves to make its decisions. Another heart, you, has already discovered the strength that comes from knowing your own worth. And in the next chapter, you'll see what happens when quiet reflection turns into undeniable courage, and a decision that once seemed impossible begins moving closer to becoming reality. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. The bold step your soulmate has been quietly considering is no longer just an idea that appears during lonely evenings. It has become the first thought they wake up with and the last thought that follows them before they fall asleep. They have reached the point where pretending everything is normal feels far more exhausting than facing the truth. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There comes a moment when the heart grows tired of carrying words that were never spoken. Your soulmate has arrived at that moment, and every day that passes makes the silence feel heavier than before. The morning after their realization felt strangely peaceful. For the first time in a long while, they stopped arguing with their own emotions. Instead of asking themselves why your memory continued returning, they accepted that it was there for a reason. They no longer viewed those thoughts as interruptions. They began seeing them as invitations to reflect honestly on everything that had happened. As they moved through another ordinary day, familiar places seemed different. A coffee shop reminded them of a conversation where you encouraged them without asking for anything in return. A quiet walk reminded them how easily the two of you could spend time together without needing constant entertainment. They realized that the greatest moments of your connection were often the simplest ones. At the time, they assumed those moments would always exist. Looking back now, they understand how extraordinary ordinary days become when they are shared with someone who brings genuine peace. This message is for you. While another heart has been rediscovering the meaning of your connection, your own journey has continued shaping you into someone stronger than ever before. There was a season when unanswered questions felt impossible to carry. You wondered whether your kindness had been enough. You wondered whether you had somehow failed to communicate what your heart truly felt. But healing quietly changed every one of those questions. Instead of asking why someone else could not recognize your value, you began appreciating the value that had always existed within you. That change transformed your entire outlook. You no longer wait for another person's clarity before believing in yourself. You carry your own confidence wherever life leads you. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The universe has spent this entire journey preparing two hearts through completely different lessons. You learned that peace should never be sacrificed in the hope of receiving love someday. Your soulmate learned that genuine love cannot flourish where fear is allowed to control every important decision. You discovered confidence through healing. They discovered gratitude through reflection. Every experience each of you faced became another piece of wisdom preparing you for healthier choices than either of you could have made before. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Throughout the afternoon, your soulmate noticed something they had overlooked for far too long. Every meaningful memory of you shared one common quality. It wasn't the location. It wasn't the occasion. It wasn't even the words that were spoken. It was the feeling of being accepted exactly as they were. They remembered how you listened without rushing to judge. They remembered how naturally you celebrated their smallest victories. They remembered how safe they felt sharing dreams they were too afraid to tell anyone else. Suddenly they understood that emotional safety is not something that appears every day. It is one of life's rarest gifts, and once experienced, it quietly changes the standards of the heart forever. This message is for you. Perhaps you've also noticed subtle reminders appearing in your own life. Maybe you've been seeing 111 whenever new hope begins quietly returning. Maybe 222 appears while patience is teaching you lessons you never expected. Perhaps 444 gently reminds you that you are stronger than every difficult season you've already survived. However you personally interpret those moments, allow them to encourage your heart to remain open while protecting the wisdom your healing has given you. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As evening approaches, your soulmate begins asking themselves questions they once avoided completely. If I already know what my heart wants, what am I waiting for? Why do I continue giving fear permission to shape my future? What would happen if I finally allowed honesty to become stronger than hesitation? These questions no longer create anxiety. Instead, they create clarity. For the first time, your soulmate understands that courage does not arrive after fear disappears. Courage grows the moment someone decides that truth deserves to be heard despite fear. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate sitting alone beneath the evening sky. They watch the last light of the day slowly disappear. The world around them continues exactly as always, yet inside everything feels new. They realize they have spent years preparing themselves for disappointment while almost never preparing themselves for hope. That realization stops them completely. They ask themselves another quiet question. What if the future I've been afraid to hope for is only impossible because I never allowed myself to take the first honest step? That single thought begins changing the direction of every decision they make. This message is for you. Continue protecting the peace you've worked so hard to build. Continue honoring every lesson your healing has taught you. Continue believing that healthy love should always be supported by honesty, consistency, respect, and emotional safety. Never trade those truths for temporary excitement or empty promises. If another heart reaches toward you, let it meet someone who values actions just as much as words. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate is planning is no longer fueled by emotion alone. It is supported by humility, gratitude, and a genuine desire to become someone who no longer allows fear to make life's most important decisions. Reflection has become wisdom. Wisdom has become determination. Determination is becoming courage. Every lesson they once resisted has quietly prepared them for this moment. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Keep trusting your own path. Keep believing in the strength you've built through every difficult chapter. Keep walking confidently toward a future rooted in peace rather than uncertainty. Because your soulmate is no longer standing at the edge of confusion. They are standing at the edge of a decision that has the power to reshape everything they thought they knew about love. And in the next chapter, the quiet courage growing inside their heart will become impossible to ignore, leading them toward an action that will forever separate the life they once accepted from the future they now have the courage to pursue. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. The bold step your soulmate has been quietly preparing for is no longer something that belongs only to their imagination. It has become a decision that follows them into every part of their day. Every morning they wake up with the same feeling resting on their heart. Every evening they go to sleep knowing they are one day closer to a choice that could change everything. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. There comes a moment when the soul realizes that fear has already stolen enough time. Your soulmate has reached that moment. They no longer want another season of wondering what might have happened if they had simply trusted their heart. They are beginning to understand that the greatest mistakes in life are often not the risks we take, but the opportunities we allow fear to quietly erase. As another day unfolds, they move through familiar routines, yet nothing feels as ordinary as it once did. Conversations seem shorter because their mind keeps drifting somewhere else. Responsibilities are completed almost automatically, but their heart remains focused on one question they can no longer avoid. They begin noticing how often your memory appears without warning. A familiar street reminds them of a conversation that once made them laugh. A favorite song unexpectedly brings back a moment they thought had faded forever. Someone says a simple phrase that sounds exactly like something you used to say, and suddenly they find themselves smiling before they even realize why. These moments are no longer painful. They are illuminating. They are revealing that genuine connections leave quiet echoes that continue long after circumstances have changed. This message is for you. While another heart has been learning through reflection, your own journey has continued transforming you into someone beautifully resilient. Think about everything you've overcome. There were nights when silence felt heavier than words. There were mornings when you questioned whether love was ever meant to find its way back into your life. Yet you continued moving forward. You rebuilt your confidence without waiting for someone else's approval. You learned to celebrate your own growth. You stopped apologizing for loving deeply. Most importantly, you discovered that your peace is too valuable to be sacrificed for uncertainty. That wisdom has become one of the greatest gifts your journey has ever given you. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The universe often prepares two hearts in completely different ways before they are capable of making healthier choices. You were learning how to value yourself even when answers never came. Your soulmate was learning what happens when someone allows fear to speak louder than honesty. Every difficult lesson became another step toward emotional maturity. Every disappointment became another opportunity to understand what truly matters. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes they were searching for happiness in places where peace could never exist because they had not yet recognized that genuine peace had once been standing quietly beside them. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. One evening your soulmate sits alone after finishing another long day. The room is silent except for the sound of their own thoughts. For the first time in a very long while, they stop trying to distract themselves. They don't reach for another task. They don't turn on music to fill the silence. Instead, they simply allow themselves to feel everything they have spent so long avoiding. At first, regret rises to the surface. They think about words left unsaid and opportunities they allowed to disappear. But as those emotions settle, something unexpected takes their place. Gratitude. They begin realizing that meeting you changed them forever. Even if life became complicated afterward, your presence taught them what emotional safety felt like. It taught them that kindness can be quiet yet unforgettable. It taught them that being fully accepted is one of the rarest experiences life can offer. This message is for you. Perhaps you've also noticed changes inside your own heart. You no longer chase people who leave you constantly wondering where you stand. You no longer confuse mixed signals with mystery. You understand that healthy love creates clarity instead of endless confusion. Maybe you've continued seeing repeating numbers like 111 whenever new hope quietly enters your thoughts, 222 during moments when patience is strengthening your spirit, or 444 whenever reassurance gently reminds you that you've already survived every challenge that once felt impossible. Whether you view these moments spiritually or simply as meaningful reminders, allow them to encourage your heart to remain open while protecting everything your healing has taught you. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As the night grows quieter, your soulmate asks themselves a question that refuses to leave. What if courage is simply telling the truth, regardless of what happens afterward? That question changes everything. They suddenly realize they have spent years believing courage meant guaranteeing a perfect outcome. Now they understand that courage has never been about certainty. It has always been about honesty. They cannot control another person's response. They cannot rewrite the past. But they can choose to stop hiding from the truth their heart has been carrying for far too long. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate holding their phone, reading and rewriting the same message over and over. Not because they don't know what they want to say, but because they want every word to come from a place of sincerity instead of impulse. They understand that one conversation cannot instantly heal every misunderstanding or erase every difficult chapter. Yet they also understand that healing can never begin where honesty never enters. That realization gives them a quiet kind of strength they have never experienced before. The fear is still there, but it is no longer in control. This message is for you. Continue honoring your own journey. Continue protecting the life you've worked so hard to build. Continue believing that anyone who truly values your heart will show that value through consistency, respect, accountability, and genuine effort. Never forget that your healing remains one of the most beautiful achievements of your life. It prepared you to recognize the difference between temporary emotion and lasting commitment. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate is preparing is no longer only a possibility. It is becoming a promise they are making to themselves, a promise that fear will no longer write the next chapter of their life. Reflection has become clarity. Clarity has become confidence. Confidence is becoming action. Every lesson, every memory, every sleepless night, and every moment of quiet reflection has been leading them toward this turning point. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Keep trusting your own path. Keep believing that every challenge has strengthened your heart rather than weakened it. Keep walking toward a future built on honesty, compassion, emotional safety, and mutual respect. Because your soulmate is no longer standing between the past and the future. They are standing at the doorway of a life where truth finally becomes louder than fear. And in the next chapter, the bold step they have been preparing to take will move beyond reflection and into reality, creating a moment that neither heart will ever be able to forget. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. The bold step your soulmate has been preparing is no longer something they only imagine during quiet nights. It has become the direction their entire heart is moving toward. Every lesson they have lived through, every regret they have carried, and every memory they tried to silence has quietly led them to this turning point. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There comes a season when the soul becomes more afraid of never knowing than of hearing an uncertain answer. Your soulmate has entered that season. The fear of remaining silent has finally become greater than the fear of speaking honestly. Another sunrise arrives, but it feels different from every morning before it. They wake up with an unusual sense of calm. Not because every question has been answered, but because they have stopped fighting against what their heart has been trying to tell them for so long. They sit quietly with a cup of coffee, looking out the window as the world begins another ordinary day. Cars pass by. Birds sing outside. People rush toward responsibilities without realizing that, somewhere, another life is quietly changing forever. For the first time, your soulmate does not ask, "Should I reach out?" That question has already been answered. Instead, they ask themselves, how can I speak with honesty, humility, and respect? That single shift changes everything. It transforms fear into purpose. This message is for you. While your soulmate has been preparing to speak their truth, your own journey has continued preparing you in a completely different way. Think about the strength you now carry without even noticing it. There was a version of you who believed every delayed response meant rejection. There was a version of you who questioned your own worth because another person's actions felt confusing. But that version of you slowly disappeared as healing entered your life. You learned to trust yourself again. You learned that your peace deserved protection. You discovered that healthy love never asks you to abandon your dignity while waiting for someone else's certainty. Those lessons became your quiet superpower. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The universe has been shaping two separate hearts with remarkable precision. You were learning confidence. Your soulmate was learning accountability. You were discovering the beauty of emotional stability. They were discovering the emptiness created by emotional avoidance. Every difficult experience carried a lesson. Every disappointment revealed another truth. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes they spent years chasing moments that felt exciting while overlooking the connection that consistently brought them peace. That realization has become impossible to ignore because peace leaves a deeper mark on the soul than temporary excitement ever could. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. During another quiet evening, your soulmate begins remembering the smallest details with surprising clarity. They remember the way you smiled when they doubted themselves. They remember how naturally you celebrated their victories without making them compete for your attention. They remember conversations where silence never felt uncomfortable because simply being together was enough. Looking back now, they understand that those ordinary moments quietly became the foundation of something extraordinary. Genuine love rarely announces itself through constant drama. More often, it arrives through consistency, trust, compassion, and emotional safety. This message is for you. Perhaps you've also noticed that your own heart has become calmer. You no longer feel the same urgency to force answers from life. You trust your journey more than you once did. Maybe you've continued noticing repeating numbers like 111 whenever thoughts of new beginnings enter your mind, 222 while patience quietly strengthens your spirit, or 444 whenever reassurance reminds you that every difficult season has helped shape the person you've become. Whether you see these moments as spiritual encouragement or simply meaningful reminders, allow them to strengthen your hope while keeping your feet firmly planted in reality and wisdom. Don't scroll. Because your heart needs this right now. As the hours pass, your soulmate realizes there is one final obstacle standing in the way. It is not distance. It is not timing. It is not circumstance. It is their own fear of vulnerability. They understand now that vulnerability once felt dangerous because it required releasing control over the outcome. But they also understand something far more important. Control has never created peace. Honesty has. Every meaningful relationship they admire exists because two people chose openness over pride. That realization quietly breaks down the final emotional wall they have carried for years. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine them holding their phone once again. This time they do not delete every sentence they write. They do not spend hours searching for perfect words. They realize perfection is unnecessary. Sincerity is enough. They know they cannot erase the past with one conversation. They know trust is rebuilt through consistent actions rather than dramatic promises. Yet they also know that every lasting journey begins with one courageous first step. Instead of asking whether they can guarantee success, they ask whether they can honestly say they remain true to their heart. The answer quietly becomes yes. This message is for you. Continue protecting the peace you've worked so hard to build. Continue honoring the boundaries that taught you self-respect. Continue believing that healthy love should always be supported by honesty, emotional maturity, accountability, and mutual effort. Never allow anyone's return to convince you to forget the wisdom your healing has given you. The strongest version of you is the one who knows your worth while remaining open to genuine connection. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate is preparing is no longer fueled by emotion alone. It is being guided by growth. Reflection has become understanding. Understanding has become courage. Courage has become commitment to living honestly rather than comfortably. Every chapter of this journey has quietly prepared them for this exact moment. They are no longer asking life for another sign. They are becoming the kind of person willing to create change through truthful action instead of endless hesitation. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Keep trusting your own path. Keep believing that every challenge has prepared you for relationships rooted in kindness, consistency, respect, and emotional safety. Continue walking forward with confidence instead of fear. Because the story is no longer about whether your soulmate's heart has changed. It is about what happens when that change becomes visible through real choices. And in the final chapter, the courage that has been quietly growing inside them will finally move beyond reflection and into action, bringing this journey to the moment where silence gives way to truth, and a single decision opens the door to a completely new beginning. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. If you have stayed until this final chapter, it is because something inside you has been searching for more than a romantic ending. Your heart has been searching for clarity, peace, and the courage to believe that genuine love is built on truth rather than uncertainty. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate has been preparing was never only about reaching toward another person. It was about becoming someone who no longer allows fear to make life's most important decisions. That is the greatest transformation of all. A heart that once hid behind silence has finally learned that honesty is the only path capable of creating real peace. The morning arrives differently than all the mornings before it. Your soulmate wakes up carrying the same feelings, but they no longer carry the same hesitation. They have spent countless nights replaying old memories, wondering what might have happened if they had chosen courage instead of distance. They have imagined conversations that never took place. They have rewritten words inside their mind that were never spoken aloud. But today they understand something they never understood before. No amount of imagining can replace one sincere act of honesty. They cannot rewrite yesterday, but they can choose not to repeat it tomorrow. That realization fills them with a quiet confidence unlike anything they have felt in years. This message is for you. While another heart has been discovering the strength to speak, your own heart has been discovering the strength to stand peacefully, regardless of what another person chooses. Think about how far you have come. There was a version of you who believed your happiness depended upon receiving answers from someone else. There was a version of you who waited for signs in every silence. But life slowly taught you that healing begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. You learned to protect your peace. You learned that your kindness is valuable. You learned that your worth has never depended on another person's readiness. Those lessons are now woven into who you are, and no one can take them away. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The universe has quietly been preparing two different journeys that unexpectedly lead toward the same truth. You learned confidence through healing. Your soulmate learned humility through reflection. You discovered the importance of healthy boundaries. They discovered the cost of emotional avoidance. You found strength by rebuilding yourself. They found wisdom by confronting the consequences of fear. Every difficult season became a teacher. Every disappointment became another step toward emotional maturity. None of it was wasted because growth often happens long before we recognize its purpose. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine your soulmate sitting quietly one final time before making the decision they have carried in their heart for so long. They close their eyes and remember the moments that mattered most. They don't remember expensive gifts or dramatic occasions. They remember feeling accepted without pretending to be someone else. They remember conversations where honesty came naturally. They remember laughter that turned ordinary afternoons into unforgettable memories. Looking back now, they finally understand that love is rarely defined by extraordinary events. It is revealed through ordinary moments where two people consistently choose kindness, patience, and understanding. This message is for you. Perhaps you've continued noticing gentle reminders throughout your own days. Maybe 111 appears whenever hope quietly begins returning. Maybe 222 reminds you that patience is often preparing you for something healthier than rushing ever could. Perhaps 444 encourages you to trust the strength you've built through every challenge you've already overcome. Whether you see these moments as spiritual encouragement or simply meaningful reflections, let them remind you that your greatest progress has happened inside your own heart. The person you have become is already one of the greatest miracles of this journey. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Your soulmate now understands that courage is not about guaranteeing the outcome they hope for. Courage is about acting with honesty even when the future remains uncertain. They realize they cannot control how every conversation unfolds. They cannot erase misunderstandings overnight. They cannot force another chapter into existence. But they can choose integrity. They can choose sincerity. They can choose to become someone who no longer allows regret to write the story. That realization changes everything because peace no longer depends upon certainty. It depends upon living truthfully. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Whatever happens after this bold step, your own healing remains just as important. Continue protecting the peace you've created. Continue honoring the boundaries that taught you self-respect. Continue choosing relationships where honesty is matched by action, where promises are supported by consistency, and where emotional safety is valued as deeply as emotional connection. Never forget that healthy love does not ask you to become smaller. It invites you to become even more fully yourself. This message is for you. The greatest surprise in this story was never simply that another heart found the courage to move toward you. The greatest surprise was discovering how much both hearts had changed while life seemed quiet. One heart learned to stop hiding behind fear. The other learned to stop doubting its own value. One discovered accountability. The other discovered confidence. Together, those lessons created something far more meaningful than wishful thinking. They created wisdom. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As this journey comes to its close, leave behind every belief that told you love must always be confusing to be meaningful. Leave behind the habit of chasing uncertainty. Leave behind the fear that your value depends on another person's choices. Carry forward your resilience, your compassion, your self-respect, and your hope. Those qualities will guide you through every chapter still waiting to be written. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The bold step your soulmate prepared to take was never the true ending of this story. The true ending is the person you became while waiting. You learned to heal without becoming bitter. You learned to remain open without abandoning your boundaries. You learned to believe in love while also believing in yourself. Walk forward with that confidence. Welcome new chapters with wisdom instead of fear. Trust that genuine relationships are built through honesty, respect, patience, and daily effort. Because the most unforgettable love story is never written in one dramatic moment alone. It is written every single day by two people who continue choosing truth over fear, kindness over pride, hope over doubt, and each other through every ordinary season that follows.